Hello guys, and welcome back to another video, and today we're back with another alternate history. Today I'm going to be doing it in a mapping style, and the video is going to be what if Austria-Hungary was competent. Now that's a pretty hard thing to do right out the get-go, I'm just going to be honest, but the way they're going to be competent is that they declare war on Serbia immediately, and don't do all that stupid demand things. This would instantly, of course, cause Hungary to go to war with Serbia. I feel like Montenegro is still having to get involved, if I remember correctly. Again, I'm running off of my head as this goes, so it might not be 100% accurate. But will anybody else join is the question. I feel like the Russians would want to join, but since they literally just assassinated someone, I don't think that Britain would be like, Russia, if you join this war, it will just be horrible for everybody. Someone just got assassinated, let them have this. So then I feel like Russia would stay out of the war. But then when Germany joins, because Germany's definitely joining, then France will join. This is how I see the war going, because I don't see Germany not joining. Because Germany is war hungry at this time, so I do feel like they would still join the war, which would cause France to join. So, Austria-Hungary will push into Serbia. Serbia will still fight back, but they'd be way less capable this time. Over here on this front, the Germans would barely push through into France, because they ain't risking going through Belgium. That's just not worth it. Then the British would get involved and they would definitely lose. However, I do feel like they could push through, but I don't expect them to capture Paris or anything like that. Back down here, I do feel like the Austrians could consolidate their front line. And here comes another question. Will Bulgaria join the war? I do feel like they might still join the war, which would cause Serbia to die. I'm not sure if Bulgaria's entry into the war would cause like Russia to join. I feel like this would still remain like, now it's all these people against France. They would send their troops over and they would push further in. But here's about their limit at invading France. I do feel like the British would be like, okay, if we don't get a peace deal under my watch right now, I will join the war. And I feel like every party's going to agree. They don't want to lose all their population, so everybody agrees, so let's just end the war. Now, I need to draw up a peace treaty. Where will the border be? I do believe that Bulgaria gets that land down there, and Austria-Hungary gets this land up here. I'm not being smart. And then Bulgaria gets this land here from Serbia. Now that Serbia has been divided, does France lose any land? I don't think so. I feel like it would just be Serbia and Montenegro getting the boot, and the balance of power will remain slightly. It'll still be a melting pot in Europe. We're just waiting for something else to start a world war. That's really what this stage in European history is about. So, what could start on World War I? I feel like there still could be another Serbian man that's like really aggressive. So I feel like another politician could be shot, but I don't think that would lead to a whole world war, seeing as there's no Serbia. Which means we need another country to have a person try to give a little pew-pew. But which country will that be? Definitely not Bulgaria or Germany. It could be Romania, potentially, because they have the Transylvanian claim. We'll just go with Romanian. A Romanian guy goes in and pew-pews, which causes Austria-Hungary to declare war on Romania. Now this is instantaneously declaring war, like they did the first time. Germany would join in as well. France would instantly join in as well, trying to keep the balance of power. Bulgaria would join, and here, this is an actual world war now, so Russia's definitely getting involved. So now this is like a way bigger war than we had. I feel like Romania will get their hands whooped. Because it's not like Romania had the strongest army, so I do feel like, even though Austria-Hungary was not the best army, I feel like what Austro-Hungarian and Bulgarian push into Romania could be successful. I mean, why shouldn't that? The Germans would push into Russia. I mean, their war cabinet has known this for a while, that they wanted to be at war with Russia, so they're just gonna go and do their plan and beat up Russia. But not too majorly, just a little bit for now. And Austria-Hungary will just start pushing out. The real front they should be worrying about is the front with France. Again, they don't want to rush British entry into the war, so they slowly start to push in. This is just basically a repeat of the first war, besides that they need France to surrender, which is risky because I don't think the British would want that. And I really do think that the British would join the war if the French were ever to be in that surrendering point. I think that's just a fact. But will anybody else join the war? I feel like Ottomans would still join the war to take land from Russia. So, in our timeline, the Ottomans did horrible at the Caucasus front, like over here. Will they do much better? Not really, but they will push in a little bit. This just causes another front line for the Russians to take on. And here's about the side where, this is about the time where we need Russia to collapse. So, how can the Central Powers get Russia to collapse? I mean, they never pushed in significantly yet, so what can they do? Well, they're going to send up a little guy that wants to be doing some revolutionary stuff. And next thing you know, Russia's about to turn communist. Like in our timeline, this would cause the Germans to make a major gain or two. But it wouldn't cause the Russians to surrender, I don't think. At least not yet. Crimea is still safe under Russian hands, and they're not even close to any of the major cities. I mean, maybe the Ottomans, but they're not getting any land anywhere. But now the Soviets are in charge of the government, and they're not doing a good job. Just like in our timeline, I feel like that's the case where the Russians would have to surrender. Like, there's not much they can do. They're just going to be severely weakened. I guess they could have bought some time to militarize, but knowing the people in power at the time, I don't think they would use that time wisely. Now there's like 1 billion troops flooding into France. They would push heavily into France, but unfortunately, it's that time again where Britain's like, if you invade France and they surrender, I'm joining in the war, and there's no coming back from that. However, I feel like the Germans would, and the Central Powers would still take that chance and push further into France. A reminder that their war cabinet wasn't the smartest at the time. But there's one major decision which could make or break the whole war. What team does Italy join? I could only see 2 ways that Italy does in this war, and that's either stay neutral, which is the preferred thing from both sides, or they could join the Central Powers, which I guess they could want, but that would mean giving up more spoils. I feel like Italy will stay neutral as, you know, they have more claims on Austria-Hungary than France, so Italy will stay neutral for the time being. And as the Germans nearly get France to surrender, Britain will join the war. This was a huge mistake, people. I don't expect that African front to be doing much good. Just ignore that African front. The Germans are getting pushed out. Paris will fall eventually, but they didn't go down without a fight, but they're still not going to surrender, knowing that the Brits could come in at any moment and help them. And just like that, the British would make a little naval invasion and cut the Germans out. They would have to reconsolidate their front lines, buying the British and French troops some time. Now it's basically, do we go for a peace deal or do we wait this war out? To be honest, I feel like at this rate, they're gonna just wait the war out. They could try for peace, but I think it's a bit too late for that. The Germans would try to do a sneaky offensive, which would have limited success. It's the point where Italy's debating whether they're going to join the Entente or not. And after some discussion, I feel like they would, making Italy join the war. Hooray. This will put extra stress on the Austrian front, which they were pretty much just assuming that Italy would stay neutral, so the Italians were pushing quite deep. But I feel like the Austrian defenses could make a rebuttal and push the Italians back pretty much to just Tyrol. I guess that's what that area is called. But still, either way, a new front has opened up, and it's not looking too good. They would get pushed back on the French front, and it's just not looking good for the Central Powers at all. I feel like some British troops would go through the Italian peninsula and cut off Tyrol from the Austro-Hungarians. Here's where Austria-Hungary being Austria-Hungary is going to be horrible. Vienna is probably like, what, right there? And if that thing gets captured, then all hell breaks loose. And that's what the Entente's going to try to do. They'll eventually go and capture Vienna, which causes Austria-Hungary to collapse. The Bulgarians and the Ottomans would try to suppress and invade, but that would not work that well, just creating another front. The Germans would try to occupy some territories of Austria-Hungary, but that wouldn't go quite well. And before you know it, the Ottomans would too be obliterated by the British, it's just not likely that the Ottomans would not surrender, causing, the front to basically just be Germany versus everybody. We already know where this is going. Germany is not winning this war by themselves. So this is basically just a slightly changed timeline from our own. But what will the peace deal look like? Will it be any different? What's gonna happen? I feel like for the peace deal, Austria-Hungary may just be demolished. But the more likely option is that it's split into 3 crowns around Austria, around Hungary, and around the Slavic thing. But that doesn't mean that they get off scot-free. The Russians would take some heavy land from there. They would probably try to take some land from Germany here. They're just happy that the war's over. They don't care about the borders too much. Now Germany looks like they look like that. They just don't care much about the borders. That's just the truth. And they would push for Serbian independence, but seeing how that would be unfair, they're not gonna get through with that. They're at least gonna get in some land. More than our timeline, I'm betting, because them joining won the war for everybody on the Entente side. And I guess France would definitely want to take some land away from the Germans. Which, it's a European peace deal. It might result in a straight line or two. It's definitely not going to be that, though. That's just me drawing a horrible border. Europe looks absolutely depressing. Russia would also gain land from the Ottomans, but I do feel like the Ottomans might as well just collapse. Around here, there will be a new whole Arabian state thing that the British were trying to pull off, but nothing quite happened, so I guess it'll happen in this timeline. The Turks are extremely weakened now. Hooray. But what happens to Bulgaria? Bulgaria was also a major power in the war. They're going to lose some land to Romania. I also feel like Austria-Hungary would lose some land, and that Romania would gain these lands. Just to fill out their borders. And this is what I feel like Europe would look after the war. Now, not that this is not what it would actually look like. I'm 99% sure that Austria-Hungary would just instantly collapse into all their states immediately after the peace deal. There's no shot that they actually exist after this. This is just what the peace deal would look like. The German borders would definitely be not just a straight line over here by the border with France, but this is just a rough outline of what could happen. This probably wouldn't happen, if I'm going to be honest, but it's a fun scenario nonetheless. If you guys liked this video, make sure to hit that like button. If you really liked it, then make sure to subscribe, and I'll see you guys in another video. Goodbye.